All right, hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Indie Diarist podcast, a show on the human stories behind indie game development. This is your loyal Indie Diarist and host, Anthony L. Wolf, and you know all about me. Today is a very special day for a couple of reasons. One is episode 76 with Rory from RateMyFuneral, a beautiful channel. You can find it on YouTube, despite the name, that experiments with Ragdoll Physics Experiments. And it's so fun, so silly, and very slapstick comedy in a lot of ways. But it's not here as a content creator, not only at least because he is developing a Ragdoll Physics game, a sandbox game, under Giraffe Head Studios, his own studio, development studio that he opened with a friend. But also, this episode goes live for everyone, for the public, on the 25th of August, which is my 30th birthday, so happy birthday to me. And as usual, thank you to my amazing patrons who support me every single month, Fishman Dev and Peleg. You guys are incredible. Thank you for supporting me since day one. Listeners, if you want to support the show as well, you can go to patreon.com/theindiediarist or check out my social links in the description of the episode. But now, let's get into Indie Diary number 76. All right, hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Indie Diarist podcast. Today, I am with a very special guest here. His name is Rory, is from RateMyFuneral. You might know the channel, actually. But actually, the development studio that you represent today is Giraffe Head Studio. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I don't want to say too much. Rory, I'll hand it over to you. So say a few things about yourself, what you do, where you're based, what you're working on right now.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, firstly, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. It's amazing to come and be a part of this. So yeah, I'm Rory. I'm one of two founders of Giraffe Head Studios. It's a small indie development studio based in Essex in the UK, and we are working on a big project called Ragdoll Physics Experiments. It's really exciting. I've been in game dev now for I don't know, probably about 5 years or so. I've released two previous titles under my other studio, and it's really interesting for me because I'm not really a kind of coder. I'm more of the creative side. So I kind of I rely on others to help me do the technical aspects while I do the fun stuff. I feel like it anyway. But the studio is made up, like I say, it's myself and my good friend Steve. We've been good friends for 15 years. We actually met through our band. So we're in a covers band together, so we've been doing music for 15 or so years, and last year we decided to join forces and try and create an indie studio that hopefully would be successful.
Yeah, well, from music to game dev, from internet tutorials to game dev, there's a lot of strands here that we can talk about, but we will get through that one by one as we go. Amazing stuff. And also, what instrument do you play? Because I could call myself a musician too. Is a piano there?
So I'm actually the singer in the band,
okay.
And I do a little guitar. But I can't really play it. I just got it and started trying to learn it just to give me something to hide behind.
All right, helps with stage fright.
Exactly that. And Steve's the bass, so he's got four strings. He gets along.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Well, no, beautiful. Well, singer and guitar. I mean, I can't sing for the life of me, but guitar I know a few things about. So Yeah, that sounds amazing. Okay, well, I mean, let's get into it. As you know, there's a little prologue section, a little icebreaker. I'm going to ask you as many questions as I possibly can in about 60 seconds. Let's see this as a little speed dating moment, although it's not necessarily speed dating. I'm taken, and you probably are too. So we will keep it there. So we'll also have a little bit of background music. It's going to feel like a quiz show. So I'm going to hit play in just a second. And I will start the countdown as soon as I finish asking the first question. So are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so let's get started. What is the first game you ever fell in love with?
Oh, first game I ever fell in love with. It's probably, fell in love with would be very likely something like Half-Life 1.
Okay, no, good one. Okay, if you could play one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, factory building type.
A Factorio kind. Okay.
Factorio
What's your
type
guilty pleasure game? This is tricky. Something you love but no isn't perfect.
No, so guilty pleasure. I don't know if this really counts, but Beautiful Katamari, purely because of the fact it doesn't fit anything else I play. It's the most random thing, but I for some reason I love rolling balls and collecting cats. It's weird.
Yeah, well, why not? You might like Rock of Ages too. Maybe you know that. Pitch your game in one sentence.
Stanley Parable meets Gary's Mod.
Beautiful, yeah, but I'm sold. And lastly, if you could be a game character for a day, who would you be?
For a day, I would probably. My first response wants to be Sean from Heavy Rain, but I don't think that's appropriate. So I'm going to go with.
Probably not a good idea. Okay, well,
I'm
we're
going to go with Pioneer from Satisfactory.
Sorry, which one?
The Pioneer from Satisfactory.
Oh, I haven't played Satisfactory. Okay, yeah, no, that's. No, I should. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of interesting answers there, and we almost got through all of them. Guilty pleasure game Katamari is an interesting choice. I like that one too. So yeah, no, but now we can relax. We can slow down. It's been a bit of a fast pace.
Yeah, I can feel my heart's already going after that. You know?
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it when you're in the icebreaker moment. But now we can relax and we can just dive into your story and also the story of your studio as we go on. So the main concept behind these indie diaries, and I say it all the time, is that these are kind of like memoirs. I like to start from the beginning. I like to see them as stories, as indie diaries, indeed. So I want to start from the origins, the very beginning. So what would you say is, you mentioned Half-Life 1, but that might not be the first game you ever played. What is your earliest memory that has to do with video games? The first thing you can remember?
So yeah, I mean, if we're talking earliest, and yeah, this is why it's different between a game I fell in love with, and earliest is something like we had my dad brought home a Commodore VIC-20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really old, really like basic in terms of what it was doing, but it was I don't remember sort of many games from it, but I just remember that the one that I remember was after that we got an Atari 800, which was the more computerized version of the Atari 1200. So that was the one that was more like a console with cartridges, whereas the 800 had 5.25-inch floppy disks, and it had games like Pitfall and Montezuma's Revenge. These kind of, really, really sort of basic kind of platformers. And I think the original E.T., the infamous E.T. game was on.
Oh yeah, the infamous.
Yeah. And that was kind of where I first got into it, because I remember stealing the TV from downstairs and putting it in my bedroom, connecting the Atari to it, and then on my CD player I had Queen playing while I was playing these games, and that's kind of like my
Queen. Yeah, good music taste. Well, I didn't ask you what music your band does, but since you mentioned Queen, I'm sure it's going to be something very tasteful. Let's.
In the band we're kind of 90s. Indie and Britpop, that kind of thing. That's amazing. The era.
Okay. No, good one. I can definitely appreciate that. Those early memories are always very precious, aren't they? So but like there's obviously a big jump between them and the Ragdoll Physics stuff that you do at the moment. Do you think those early experiences or some games that you played in your early years are influencing what you do now as a studio?
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, like I say, I mean, a big influence. You know, I mentioned Half-Life, and the reason is because that's the first game that I remember sort of capturing me, almost like a film. That was kind of the first time, in my opinion, or my experience, that
Hmm.
games started becoming like interactive films. And I'm massively into my films and that kind of thing. So that was kind of the real draw there. And sort of all around that era, yeah, a lot of what I put into it is all there. You know, I'm heavily referenced and influenced by so much around me in terms of, you know, like 80s and 90s British comedy. Like
Uh-huh.
everything I
Okay.
do has that interlaced. You know, I've done two previous games, and both of them are technically serious, but underneath
Uh-huh.
that serious, honestly, there's humor all throughout because it's built into me. I can't help it. In terms of the game influences, yeah, I mean, let's say I've literally been playing for as long as I can remember. Various different things. I was always one console behind everyone else. So when everyone else had Mega Drives or Genesis, if you're in the States, but if when everyone else had Mega Drives, I had the Master System. I finally got
Uh-huh.
a Mega Drive. But I tell you, it's funny. I managed to get the Mega Drive. You know, saving paper round money and doing whatever I could. I finally managed to find one in one of those pawn shops, but it had a
Okay.
purple power button, and it was quite cheap. And I didn't
Purple
know why it
power
had a
button.
purple power button, but I bought it. It was I think it was
Okay.
a Mega Drive 2, I think it was, the smaller, squarer
Uh-huh.
one. And I got it home, and I finally discovered it's because it was a Japanese one. And it
Okay.
meant that it didn't actually run most of the cartridges. So I
Yeah, region lock. Yeah, of course. At the
so
time it was even worse.
it became a gamble as to if I bought a
Oh
game whether it
wow.
would actually work. And I always remember we really strange. We in our town we had a shop called GK Motor Factors, and they sold car parts and bike parts, and they rented Mega Drive and SNES games.
Okay. Well, that's
So I'd go down there, you know, and it was £3 to rent a game for 2 days. But like I say, you'd get it home like all excited, and then you put it on, and literally it would just do nothing. It's like, oh yeah,
just wouldn't work yet.
wrong console. So
Wow, interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, the 80s and 90s were wild in terms of like business models. I couldn't think of something like that now, but yeah.
you wouldn't see it, would you? No, but yeah,
No, no, not exactly. I don't
yeah.
think so. I don't think like my car mechanic would rent me a PS5. I don't really see that. But yeah. Right. Well, then, I mean, you said that you've been in making games for about the last 5 years or something. So,
Mm.
when did that happen exactly? When did you realize that you wanted to make games? Like, was there a specific light bulb moment or something like that?
Right. So I mean, it's quite a long story. I'll try to not drag it out too much, but
All right. Yeah, we got
so
time.
I think I actually underestimated the timing thinking about it, because it was when the HTC Vive, the VR headset, first came out. I
Ah,
had that on
yeah. Okay.
pre-order to get it for day one. I was insanely
Remember that?
excited about it, and I had all these plans about making a YouTube channel playing VR games. And while I was waiting for, you know, during that downtime, and I'm searching everywhere, I had this idea that I might be able to somehow get this so that I can utilize it for my day job, for my work. And I worked for a company that is in the security industry. And I had this idea that what if I could virtualize one of the projects in the London Underground, make a VR version of it, and actually
Uh
integrate it
huh.
so that you could actually use virtual versions of the equipment, but worked with the real life equipment.
Basically,
So
you made digital twins. It's
exactly this,
interesting.
right? And I had this idea of just building this experience. So what
Uh
I
huh.
did was, when it then arrived, I downloaded Unity with literally no idea how to use it or anything like that. You know, at the point at that time, I was quite very well versed with Cinema 4D, the 3D
Uh
modeling and
huh.
animation software.
Well, imagine if you started with Unreal.
Well, that was the which one do I go with? But yeah, for whatever reason, I went with Unity,
Mhm.
and I went on the asset store and found this underground station because I wanted to replicate the London Underground,
Yeah.
and it was an American one. I downloaded it, and
Uh huh.
I emailed the designer, and I said, I want to make this into the London Underground. How hard would that be? And he came back to me and said that's quite a lot of work. Yeah, I probably wouldn't bother, and all this. But I'm a bit of a pest, so I went back. I went, yeah, but do you want to help me? Like, is there anything we can do together here? And he kind of wasn't sure, but I pestered him a bit because I think I was one of those typically annoying customers for poor old asset designers. And I actually managed to get him on board, and between us, we built a full London Underground station. You could go in.
Wow.
You went in there and you could walk around. It felt really real. The train would pull up, and then the train would fail, and you would use the help point. It would integrate into the system. You'd get the train working. It would go off, and it became an experience.
Nice.
And
okay.
It went down really well in the company. We ended up using it at exhibitions and so on, and it was really cool. I was really pleased with what we'd done. But I very heavily lent on this person that I found, in the asset store. And I then, we did a few more, and I was having a chat with him and sort of said, it would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could make something like this to actually put on Steam so that other people could get it, maybe even do it for free, but just like a 1 hour simple experience. And of course that then meant we ended up, if you can imagine what happens when you start with, let's make a 1 hour experience before 10 minutes
it becomes
later,
like a 10 hours.
But we kind of set a little challenge for ourselves, and I remember this distinctly. It was in December. We said, let's see if we can build a game from scratch and get it out there by March. That was our little challenge. Can we do it in 3 months? And we did. We built the first game. It was an escape the room style kind of horror game that was comical as well. And we built that, and we got it released in March, and then we spent another couple of months sort of patching it and improving it and so on. And it did all right. It sits on Steam now. It's got very positive reviews, and it's a great little project. And that was the first kind of game that I made, and it was like, I really enjoyed that. I want to do it again.
Really interesting story, I'm gonna say. I mean, I want to say, from security systems to game dev, that is even more surprising, and also the fact that you made it like an experience that was shown at conference events and whatnot. Really, really cool, really cool. And well, I guess in 3 months it's doable to people if you keep the scope relatively tight and you don't let it get out of hand, which happens way too often, but
very easily. Yes.
But and very easily too. Yes. But super fascinating. And how when did you get the idea for the Giraffe Head Studios, or getting together with Steve?
Yeah. The idea of the Ragdoll Physics Experiments comes actually from when I was doing the tutorial videos on the RateMyFuneral channel. Quite some time ago, I forget exactly, it was quite a few years ago, I made a tutorial on how to rig, it was called How to Rig a Ragdoll. And it was basically, take the built-in mannequin and showed how to, set up the joints with the physics and all of that. And to demonstrate it, I made a 30-second clip that was just basically that ragdoll standing, and then I threw a brick at it. It hits him in the head, it sends him flying. I did all the nice sounds. And it was just a funny little clip, and it sat there for a few years. And the tutorial was, it was nothing sort of special in terms of views or whatever. But then, literally one day, I looked at the example video, and it was at something like 1.2 million views. Like, when did that happen? Like, what? It's like, wow. So like, okay, well, people like this. I'll do some more. So I made a sort of 3-minute version that was just lots of different scenarios. So basically, I placed these ragdolls and I let my mind go crazy. I threw like loads of them into a toilet and then slammed the lid on them, and then I threw golf balls at them, and then I dropped a horse on one, and then I ran another one over with a car, and I connected.
British comedy and slapstick, then everything works very well for that.
No, exactly. And so I put together all this clip. I did like I said, did all the nice sound design, tried to make it nice and satisfactory. Nice juxtaposition with the music, so it would be like really jovial, chirpy music, while things are getting battered around, and again I put it online, and it went really well. So I made several of them, and I think the second one is just shy of 3 million views right now, which is unbelievable. I can't get over that. So like, I always thought, you know what, this needs to be a game. I need to make. So many people were asking me, you know, how do I do that? How do I make things like that? I
Mm,
want to do things like that. And I was like, yeah, I would love to make it so that so that other people could make these as you know, easily, because you know, obviously a lot of
yeah.
work goes into them. So I had this idea of making this game that was kind of like Gary's mod, but specifically for ragdolls, and with and I
Uh-huh.
always like, you know, I love the visuals of Unreal Engine, what you can achieve
Yeah.
in that. So I liked the idea of doing it with that. So yeah, it was about finding a way, but it was such a big scope. You know, we'd done that
Yeah, of course.
first
Yeah.
game. Again, it's that whole, you don't want to sort of start with your dream game. You don't want to start with the big one, right? So
Hmm.
we discussed it there, and you know, we decided let's not do that. Let's do a much bigger walking simulator style game.
Uh-huh.
So we built a game called Who Is Abby, which is point and
Okay.
click meet walking simulator. And again, scope creep. That was originally, it was supposed to be 3-4 hours. It's now an 8-9 hour game.
Oh well, obviously. Yeah.
And again, you know, it came out really well. I'm really proud of it. It's a really, you know, it was a brilliant experience doing it. But the friend that I was doing it with, the guy from the asset store, unfortunately he didn't have the kind of same vision for the ragdoll game as me.
Ah, yeah, right.
Um, Whereas Steve had been, so Steve, obviously, we haven't really mentioned much about him, but he, throughout all of this journey, because we're in the band, he was always my
Uh-huh.
sounding board. So you know, every Monday
Ah,
night
yeah.
we're driving to band practice. I'm either ranting or I'm elating, or you know, I'm giving him updates on sort of what's happening and where the problems are or where the successes are and all of that. So he's been
Hmm.
following along this journey. And then when I said
Okay.
about, you know, I really want to do the Ragdoll game, he said, well, I'll tell you what if we do it? And he came on in terms of the business and investment side, and I'll stay
Uh-huh.
on as the you know, be the creative and the vision. I guess I could say it sounds a bit weird, but
Yeah.
that could be
Okay.
my part, you know. And yeah, so we decided that yeah, that's an interesting way to go. So let's do that. So between the two of us, we then said, right, we're going to set up this new studio. We're going to make my dream game. We're going to make the Ragdoll Physics Experiments game, and that's kind of where we're at now, really.
That's a wild journey, and I love it. I mean, every single bit of it is super interesting, and Ragdoll Physics is always so fun. I mean, especially sandbox games. I mean, you mentioned Gary's mod a few times already. That's a super fun game, but generally having a lot of tools and doing whatever you want with them. And physics-based games, how much I love those. I remember spending tens, maybe hundreds of hours on Little Big Planet because I just liked the physics
I did
and
this.
I liked
Yes,
making
yes.
levels.
I did the
Yes.
same. I spent an entire Christmas holiday building the biggest Rube Goldberg machine in Little Big Planet on the was it the
Yeah.
PS3? I think.
PS3, yeah, it was
Yeah,
PS3.
yeah. So the biggest Rube Goldberg machine, where you went up in a lift and then it would do things, and honestly, it went on for about 10 minutes of things here. Such a good that's a great point that you raised. When you talk about my influencers, that's one I
Hmm.
wouldn't have actually thought of, but absolutely, Little Big Planet is a
The
massive influence.
Planet is amazing, and
Yeah,
now it's with Sumo Digital. Well, I don't know if it's with Sumo Digital anymore. It's definitely with Sony, but yeah, Media Molecule is doing other stuff. They even retired Dreams, so I think they're working on something else,
yeah.
which I'm very excited about because they always do these sandbox games, which are absolutely amazing.
Mm.
But also Human Fall Flat, that is so fun, and just all the silliness of the ragdoll physics there. So amazing to play with friends. And so I suppose it's going to be like a much similar experience. You mentioned Stanley Parable too, like a lot of
Mm.
great influences in there, I think. A bit of a reflective question, I suppose, but based on this, like, to you, what is it that makes working with ragdoll physics so fun? And I ask this as someone who doesn't really work with 3D physics or 3D game development in general. But right now, I'm mostly focused on 2D. One day, maybe I'll do something 3D. But yeah.
So there's something about physics in computation. I couldn't
Uh-huh.
really articulate exactly what it is, but I find it so fascinating. The idea of replicating physics, and the
Uh-huh.
fact that I guess it comes from, you can do anything without what's the word? Without my
Real
brain's
world consequences, maybe?
consequences. Thank you so much. That was the word I was
Well, you
desperately
wouldn't throw a brick at a person, but you can do it at a ragdoll.
exactly right. You can sort of do these kind of crazy things, and I tell you, it's funny because I'm very lucky. My missus, my partner, is she's also well into games, and she always kind of has been, and we've been together for forever. So our game, the evolution of gaming has come with us as well, and we used to play games quite regularly, but we've got a kind of thing from back in the day where if a game was going to be a particular type of game, I would play it and she would watch, and that and that would be how it would work, and that was fun. But I specifically remember. Do you remember the game Fear? I think it was spelled
Of course.
F3AR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's other than obviously Half-Life had it as well, but it was the first game I can remember where literally there were items that were physics based for no reason whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
and
Remember
so if
that.
you the where I'm getting to with this is if you can imagine from her poor her perspective. I'm playing this game, but I'm probably spending more time wandering around knocking monitors off desks just to see what happens. And then, I wonder if I can get that monitor out of the room now. So I'm now backwards and forwards trying to kick a monitor around the floor. 20 minutes has gone by, and she's just sitting there going, oh.
But like these little touches are always fun in games. Like I remember in Metal Gear Solid 2, you can basically shoot glasses off a countertop, and there's absolutely no reason for that, but you can do it, and it's fun to do it. Doesn't even have any consequence because there's no guards around. You can just do it. You can have fun breaking the bar.
Yeah.
So that's
This
yeah.
is it. This is it, and it's something. It's just always fascinated me. I like saying, what? I guess it's also a natural curiosity as well. So what happens if I do that and does that,
Yeah.
and and again, yeah. When I think about Half-Life 2, I'm in those apartments after you're running away from the Combine, and I'm literally standing there throwing everybody's televisions out of the windows.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
let's say you've had a fascination with physics and
yeah.
throwing things out the window since a very young age. So,
It's
yeah.
about as simple as that, I'd say.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I mean, you've been doing for 5 years, maybe more. I don't remember when the HTC Vive came out
Yeah, I think it was
off the top of my
2015,
head,
yeah.
but like in all this time, what would you say is the biggest development challenge you faced and overcome, apart from scope creep? Because that's yeah, and and how would you say it shaped your approach to games going
Oh, do
ahead?
you know what? It's a really hard question to narrow down because there are so many things that I could highlight as a challenge. I mean, there's the absolute basic one is getting eyes on what you're doing is
Yeah.
under the banner of marketing and all of that is it's insanely difficult. And as someone that I'm possibly a bit of a validation junkie. So I put lots of stuff out there, and I love to see if it's. I love to see if it's made someone laugh. I like to see if people enjoy it, that kind of thing. And yeah, so I do find that the other thing as well is understanding and dissecting criticism. Again, because if you're building something that you consider kind of a bit of your art, you're putting it out there. It's your baby, and when people come back and they tell you something and it's not in line with how you were thinking, that's very difficult. And I know I've got a really good example of that actually in Stocksend House in the first game. Because it's a psychological thriller, everything's a little bit topsy-turvy. I purposefully made the basketball. You could pick up a basketball and you could throw it around. And I purposefully made it. It had a metal sound. Like it was supposed to be wrong. And literally, it was the first negative review we got said, full of bugs. The basketball doesn't even sound like a basketball. These guys don't even know what a basketball should sound like. So I jumped straight in the game and I changed it and made it so it's now a basketball. And there's a big part of me that regrets that. Like, because...
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if it was a comedic effect, yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe someone would have caught it. Yeah.
This is it, I mean, but then there's a whole other side to it. Should I have spent more time establishing the rules? Maybe that was where it is, and that's what I mean by it's really hard to kind of necessarily understand. When criticism comes in, what is it that it actually means? Because it's very rare, or at least in my experience, it's very rare when the criticism is actually directly at the thing itself. It's normally something that's led to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And
yeah,
also,
I
most
think
of the times,
yeah,
criticism is not even directly aimed at you. It's directed at the thing that you're making. So
you're
people
exactly right.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah.
very difficult thing as well to separate yourself.
Uh-huh.
A bit like if you're trying to learn the drums, separating your arm from your foot to do the different
Mm-hmm.
drums, separating yourself from your project is a really
Uh-huh.
difficult challenge. So yes,
Yeah.
that's why, like I say, I think I would struggle to pin down one thing as the most difficult thing. But those are sort of up there.
Those, yeah, but those actually work, and I think you raised some solid points there. It's something that a lot of developers struggle with. Pretty much every time I bring up marketing, everybody is kind of a little bit anxious when it comes to even just hearing the word. It's a beast. But like so, obviously the game is in development. Did you have people trying it out already, or is it too early for that?
No, so literally in the last sort of couple of weeks, we finally got to a point where I've now got a build on Steam that I can give to people. So I have actually now
Okay.
been able to get some feedback, and
Uh-huh.
it literally in the last sort of couple of weeks, it started coming in,
Okay.
and sure enough, it's there's some things that are like, oh, okay, but there's other things that are like, oh, good, that works. so
Yeah, and tied to that, actually, the real question is, what's been one of the most memorable reactions someone has said to your game so far? It might be too soon, but maybe
oh
something already stands out.
yeah, no, that's a difficult one. So we, I mean,
Could
one thing
also
that
be something that you did in the past, to be fair,
well,
not
I mean.
necessarily this one.
Just the other day, there was we did I did a Reddit post. So
Uh huh.
basically, in the discussions around how do we end the it's not a demo. It's a kind of tech preview that we've got right now. It's the
Mm-hmm.
official demo is still in the works, but it was how do we end it? How do we sort of finish it? And the discussion came about like, well, can we give away a free boat? And it was, just as a bit of a joke. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So now,
Okay.
when you get to the end, there's a screen that pops up out of the floor, and it says, "Thank you very much for trying the preview.
Uh huh.
Click the screen to sign up for our mailing list and get a free boat." And if you press it, the screen goes away, the ceiling opens up, and a boat falls through the ceiling and just lands just in front of you. And we posted it on Reddit, and
Okay.
it went down really well. It basically it was pretty much the only Reddit post I think I've ever done that was almost 100% positive in terms of the comment.
Great.
And on Reddit, that's good going, right? So,
On Reddit, it's difficult. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you post in places like game dev or indie devs or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
those
that's
those
it.
places can be a
So
little
yeah, so I
tricky.
went on there, and that went down really well. And because that is the kind of humor that is in this game, that was a real solidifier. That was a validator
Nice.
for me. Like,
There you
yeah,
go.
that's the tone. People resonate with that. They thought it was funny. It works. That's a brilliant reaction. Brilliant moment.
Amazing. Yeah, no, great stuff. Great stuff. And the boat could be the answer to this next question, but I'm curious to see what else there is. What would you say is one mechanic or, even element in your game that you're extremely proud of, and why?
Ah, it yeah, that's a really interesting question. I haven't really thought much about one specific thing there.
I think the
So
boat is pretty high on the list. I have to
yeah,
be honest.
so like I say, it's still early because there's a lot to come from it in terms of
Of course,
because
yeah.
the sandbox side, if you think the idea of bolting wheels to the side of a fridge and then putting thrusters on the back, setting up your ragdoll off in the distance and seeing if you can take him out with the bathtub on
Uh-huh.
wheels, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the Tears of the Kingdom approach, yeah.
Yeah. So stuff like that's going to be brilliant. But I mean, right now, because the premise is that it's in this facility with this there's this kind of AI that's watching you. He appears on a screen and he's just an
Uh-huh.
eye, just eyes and a mouth. But he's got this quintessentially British narrator voice. Um,
Okay.
and he talks to you, and he mocks you. He roasts you as you go along. But
Okay.
it's
I can see the
always
Stanley Parable element now, yeah.
exactly right, and it's always done in a kind of wholesome way. There's nothing in the game, and that was to be fair, that was one of the things that was quite important. If you take a look at like a game like People's Playground. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's similar, but in
Maybe.
2D. It's kind of you set up contraptions and take out ragdolls in various ways, but it's really gruesome. Like it's simplified. I don't want to say, I don't want to do it a disservice, but if you see what I mean, it's a very simplified visual experience. But it's gruesome. There's blood. That you can
there's
hear
parts
things.
flying. Yeah, okay.
And it's got its own charm, and it's lovely in that respect. But I didn't want to go down that route. I didn't want this to be kind of macabre. I
Gory.
wanted it to be dry, humorous, and wholesome at the same time. So yes, I'd say that that's the mechanic. Is the he's called the voice of the facility, and it's him walking around and mocking you in a kind of
so
sarcastic
kind
way.
of like GLaDOS, but also maybe less sassy. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, GLaDOS is a great reference. Actually, it's one of my favorite characters ever. She's so funny.
Oh god, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's always like a very, very satisfying comedic payoff when you see a ragdoll fall from like meters, even maybe miles high, and then it just falls flat. It's just there's something funny about that, just slamming on the ground. I suppose that's what you're going for. No gore, no violence, just very, very dry impacts and such. I think that's what makes it funny. Yeah.
Exactly, and the sounds are all thuds. It's thud, 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 and the
noise.
They go oof, oof, ah.
That's how I'm imagining it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right, amazing. Well, actually, believe it or not, we're very close to the end of this episode. Well, I just have a couple more questions for you. But now we are at the last part of the Indie Diary, which is all about reflections, all about thinking about your journey so far. So the core of the show is the human stories behind indie game development. And this question is one that I ask everybody, and it will be on the show for as long as the show runs. And I want to ask you, Rory, why are you a game developer? What is it that drives you forward?
Yeah, it's that's a great question, and it's for me specifically. I like the creativity. I like to be able to create something that someone else can manipulate in their own way. That's for me is the biggest driver, because as I say, I love film, I love TV, and I love all those creative mediums. But gaming, because of the fact that puts it in the hand of the player, it adds so many additional variables that are both a challenge and make things more interesting. And that's what sort of really drives me is the idea that I can make something that someone else can play and get enjoyment out of, and that's a huge thing for me. It really is.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that's what a lot of people resonate with too. I mean, I've got people saying, "Oh yeah, because I want to do things for others," and that seems to be your core motivation too. I want to do things that I can enjoy with my loved ones, that kind of stuff. But there's the creativity is always at the heart of this answer, and it's always fascinating to see that no matter who you are, 80 developers in, that everybody kind of gives the same answer. So that's really cool. I think you touched upon this one too, because you mentioned feedback, you mentioned learning, your big development challenges, marketing. But what would you say has been the toughest part of your entire journey so far, and what was your way of pushing through it?
Let's say that the most difficult thing, if I'm being brutally honest, it's how do I articulate this? It's dealing with non-success. That's probably
failure.
That's the word. Thank you. Non-success.
That's it works. I mean,
I don't even know where that came from. Failure. Dealing with failure. But to be fair, actually, I think the reason why specifically I didn't go with the word failure, was because I don't consider any of what I've done so far a failure. My first two games, in all honesty, they sit on Steam. They've got very positive ratings in the review system, but they didn't sell millions. They weren't the runaway successes that I would hope. So therefore, I don't consider it necessarily a failure. So I consider it a non-success. So that's possibly why my brain was telling me that. And it's dealing with that. And okay, so get back on that horse. Move on to your next one. Learn from what you did or
Yeah.
didn't do right or wrong last time, and just keep trying, have another go.
Yeah, and next one will probably be better. And also, that's why a lot of people advise not to make your dream game first, because you have to learn from your mistakes. You have to learn from the things that went wrong the first time around, and then build on that. If you face scope creep in the first two projects, then maybe you're better equipped to not face it on your third one or your fourth one,
100%,
and
yes.
so on. And so your dream game becomes easier to make with every single, even small game that you make,
Yeah.
one after the other.
Ah,
So yeah, it's a learning
absolutely.
journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be anywhere near as far along with Ragdoll's physics experiments as I am now without that previous learning. This would have fallen flat ages ago. So
Absolutely,
yeah, that makes
yeah,
a huge difference.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and last reflective question, I would say, as I mentioned a few times, these are indie diaries. So I see these as memoirs in a way as well. So if this were your final diary entry, what's one message you would leave for other developers or for players? I'll leave the choice to you.
Oh wow. So well, for you, that's a really challenging question. Okay. So firstly, get your vision and stick to it. If you're talking to a developer, like really figure out what it is you want to do. There's a difference between doing something because you specifically want it to be a success, or you specifically want to create something. And it's understanding that difference as well, because that affects the approach. It affects what you do. If you're making something that you're wanting to put a bit of heart and soul in, then you've got to be prepared for the fact that it may not be as successful as you want it to. But if you're going down the route of success, then spend an awful lot of time doing market research before you begin. Build
Yeah.
marketability into your. Actually, no, this one goes for anyone. Build marketability into your project from day one. Think about
Mhm.
how, as you're making things, think about how is this going to be seen. If I take a screenshot and stuck this on Reddit, Facebook, X, whatever, does it look
Yeah.
good? Does it look inviting? And kind of just try and instill that mindset from day one, because that was one of the things that I found with the second game, was that we didn't really do much in the way of marketing planning. We built the game and then went, right, let's launch it. And that is 100% not a good strategy. And
No.
then I was retrofitting things to try and make them marketable and make it look good and so on. And
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause
that was
then it feels like an afterthought, doesn't it? So yeah,
exactly,
it's
exactly. So yeah, so that would be my thing to try to say, if you're getting into it now, like building marketability from day one.
yeah. It's a tough skill. It's very difficult. You have to think like a marketer. You have to think like someone who needs to sell a product. So what
Mm,
is it that you're actually making that makes it sellable to people? Is it the fun element? Is it something unique? In your case, it's an experience that's basically free, but also very quirky, but also very goofy in a lot of ways, I suppose,
mhm.
because that's very much physical comedy,
Yeah,
and people resonate with that. But what is it that makes a game unique? And drilling down and finding that USP is really difficult for a lot of people. But if you start from that, then it makes the whole journey easier.
yes,
So really,
yeah.
really top advice there. Okay, well, thank you so much, Rory. This was actually the last question that I had for you. This has been a lovely episode. Really lovely speaking to you and chatting about all of these things, and really, really interesting stories that you got there about the
Thank you.
HTC5, the experience on the underground with the security system and whatnot. So, yeah, I only have one last question for you, which is, where can other people find you? And if they do, what is the best way to support you?
Well, we do have a Kickstarter, so we've got a lot of things that we would like to add to the game. So we're going to run a
Mhm.
Kickstarter to see if we can get some of these additional things over and above what we're building.
Consider me a
But
backer, yes.
so yes, obviously we've got the Discord as well.
Uh-huh.
So obviously all the typical ones. So X with Giraffe Head Dev on X. Another thing I haven't really sort of mentioned is I'm running a devlog on the YouTube channel. So Giraffe Head Studios on YouTube, running a devlog. Basically, episode 1 is literally me in the Unreal map with no textures, nothing, just literally a blank map. And there's a good 21 or so episodes of showing the progress of the game so far, which is quite fascinating.
That's cool.
But yeah. So if you come and find us through there, and like I say, if you jump into the Discord, one thing I was going to say, if you mention on the Discord that you came from the Indie Diarist podcast, I'll give you a special role. There's a
Oh wow, love that! It's first time
special
someone's ever offered that.
Yeah,
Love it. Well, thank you.
And yeah, so and obviously on the Discord we're going to be looking to expand out in terms of potential play testing and giving out little extras and so on. We've got a lot of really cool and interesting things planned, specifically for the Kickstarter. And again, those in the Discord might receive some stuff themselves, you know.
Great, amazing. Okay, well, thank you, Rory, and of course I will put all of Cat coming back again. There she is. And of course I will put all of these links in the description of the episodes so people can find you. But it's been lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this chat. I will definitely check out Ragdoll Physics Experiments because it's absolutely up my alley and it's something that I will love. I am sure 100%. So yeah, thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for your time and everything, and wishing you all the best with the game and everything that comes after, for sure.
No, thank you so much for having me as well. Really appreciate it. It's been really good fun. Great talking to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.